Om Ayahi Bharade Devi Traksare Brahmavadini Gayatri Chandasang Mata Brahmajani Namastute. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrittor Ma Amritangamaya Aviravir Maevi Rudra Jate Dakkhinamukam Te Namang Pahi Nityam Te Namang Pahi Nityam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O Divine Mother of the Universe, reveal Thyself in our hearts and in our midst. We invoke Thy presence amidst us. Thou art the sacred words of the Scriptures. Thou art the embodiment of knowledge and liberation. Thou art the supreme bridge to immortality. Lead us from unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death, disease, and suffering to immortality. Manifest Thyself in us through and through, and protect us with Thy compassionate face. Om, peace, peace be unto us, peace be unto all living beings. Our service this evening, honoring the Christmas. Today is Christmas Eve, a sacred day, I would say, for the whole world. Not just for the Christians. Are we the Christians? Answer is yes. We often receive calls. Ramakrishna Center, he said, "Are you Roman Christians?" I said, "Yeah, that is true." Ramakrishna order was conceived and resolved on a Christmas day. Swami Vivekananda and his brother disciples sat lighting a dhuni fire in a village, and inspired by the Christ renunciation and love of God, he resolved the founding of the order. We celebrate in all our centers. I'll read to you from Gospel of St. Matthew. The birth of Jesus Christ. Now the birth of Jesus Christ was on this wise. When, as his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph before they came together, she was found with child of the Holy Ghost. Then Joseph, her husband, being a just man, not willing to make her a public example, was minded to put her away privately. But while he thought on these things, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a dream, saying, Joseph, thou son of David, fear not to take unto thee Mary thy wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Ghost. And she shall bring forth a son. Thou shalt call his name Jesus, for he shall save his people from their sins. Now all this was done, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of by the Lord in the prophet, saying, Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son. They shall call his name Emmanuel, which being interpreted is God with us. Then Joseph, being raised from sleep, did as the angel of the Lord had bidden him, and took him unto him with his wife, and knew her not till she had brought forth her firstborn son, and he called his name Jesus. Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, "Where is he that is born of the King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him." When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and of all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. And they said unto him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, And thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judea, are not the least among the princes of Judah. For out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel." Then Herod, when he heard privately, called his wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem, and said, "Go and search diligently for the young child. And when ye have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also." When they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they were come to the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold, and frankincense, and myrrh. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. Christmas Day is the day to recall and remember a message. Our subject is the message of Christmas, what it means. So often this message has been lost in the wilderness of sing-song, ceremonies, thrills, entertainments, and shopping. The message, the birth of a child, is a message wrapped from heaven, wrapped in a human body, delivered to the world. Why we remember the birth of Christ, or Krishna, or Buddha? Millions of children are born and millions are dying every moment. There must be some reason. Why people do not remember the great or powerful dictators who ruled the earth? But why they remember these people? There must be some reason. It was a message of hope, future, consolation, and promise of love and sacrifice. The message resounded through the hills and mountains of the country, shook the very foundation of our beliefs. It was powerful because it was the power of the soul through which the message came. The teaching of a prophet, we hear these things every day, we read all our life. But we do the same old thing. Swami for 30 years is pounding the podium telling these things, but nobody much cares. But when a prophet comes and says, "Ha ha, this is," why? Because the messenger was the embodiment of his teaching. He believed what he was saying. You have to believe. If you are a medical doctor, you have to believe what your prescription will work. If you are a lawyer, you have to believe that your brief is correct, authentic, and can win the case. A religious teacher has to believe what he is saying. And this belief is not just words, in thought and action. His words had power because he was a knower of God, not a talker of God. We have in the world millions of God talker, God hearer, God singer, but not many God knower. Like Buddha, Jesus stood before the society with a giant spiritual power that could never be denied or ignored. A challenge to our so-called beliefs and thoughts. Who was this person, Jesus, if we objectively want to know? Historically, some say he was a humanist, some moralist, some revolutionary, rebelling against the Roman rule and torture of the time, some prophet, or a God-man. Basis is the four Gospels. But Gospels were written after 40 to 70 years afterwards. The recording four Gospels. After 40 to 70 years after Jesus' death. You may wonder why they did not write right after, when they were still living. You know, one thing you will find common in all great prophets. When they are alive, these questions do not arise. First, he died as a condemned man on a cross. He died as a false prophet, declared by the orthodox, decadent orthodoxy of tradition of the time. Often it is said a prophet is never receives any recognition in his own village. I do not know why this has been said. He could not be appreciated during his lifetime. Prophet is like a huge Himalayas. You need a distance to enjoy the beauty of the Himalayas. Here also you need a distance of time to apprehend. Second reason is, they become so entranced by his presence, his words. This question did not arise at the time. Who was he? It has been proved in all cases previously. You will find in the Ramakrishna literature great search. Who gave the name Ramakrishna? Book after book, article after article. I sometimes wonder why they did not ask him at the time. But question did not arise. Who was he? That is the power of a prophet. It sucks your mind completely unto him. Even those who are against him, they are following him. Even though hated him, they are pursuing him to see, get a glance. Some of the examples I personally experienced, Gandhi's life in 1947, country being partitioned, and slaughter between the Hindus and Muslims. Gandhi came to Calcutta. They were hating him. But still, from the Calcutta airport to the Calcutta city, about 5 miles, people 10 deep on the sidewalks waiting to see him. Nothing much to see him. He's a half-naked man wearing a towel-like cloth, no teeth, and not a very handsome looking also. Like Socrates. Socrates, it is said, was not a very handsome man. But wherever in Greece there would be beauty contest, he will go there. Strange. He will say, I am the most handsome man. You are not seeing me. I can smell which you people cannot smell. I can see things which you people cannot see. You are blind. So therefore, this power is not just external. What Vedanta and Yoga say about him, or think about him? They consider him as an incarnation of God. Proof from a non-Christian tradition, Sri Ramakrishna. There is no other who had a vision of Christ. It's a powerful testimony that he existed. Some even exist. Horticulture say, no, there was no such person as Jesus. Even they're telling, well, Bethlehem, two Bethlehems are there. Which one? Digging scrolls. Even if they dig and prove, what you will find? Even if they find his bones, world will not change unless you take his words. The idea of God has been spoken of by the different traditions. Some as pure spirit, God as personality, God as a person, God as a universe. Then finally, God-man. They believe God incarnates at different age to set the balance. A promise in the Bhagavad Gita I will find. The basic idea why we should call on God, whom we have not seen, we feel we won't be able to see, we think our life will end on imagination of God. But why still people do? Spiritual quest or any search does not become successful. Truly, it begins with an awakening. That all that we have, all that we possess, came from God. Second, God is the only being who really loves us. There is nobody in this world to call your own. The basic conception. Remember the story of Sri Ramakrishna, the Gospel abridged. We just read on Tuesday. Guru told the disciple, there is nobody is your own except God. Disciple said, Sir, my mother loves me so much. My wife sees dark when I am not home for a day. My sons and daughters are waiting to see me. Guru said, well, there you are mistaken. Go home today, and I am giving you some pills. If you take these pills from all worldly point of view, medical point of view, you will be dead. But you will be able to hear what is conversation going on around. Then I will appear as a doctor. So disciple came, took the pills, died, all wife, son, daughter, crying profusely, falling on the ground, bumping their head. Oh, why you left us? Guru appeared in the guise of a doctor. I believe whether he had the lab coat and the stethoscope, I don't know. He said, what's the matter? And the whole family said, died. Oh, what will happen? Doctor said, don't worry, I have some medicine. Everybody stood up. I have some medicine, he will be back to life. But one condition, this medicine must be taken by somebody else in the family first, and that person will die. Then mother, her tears stopped. Well, you know what has happened to him. Who will look after my other grandchildren? And she began to reflect. He said, how about wife? She was just now bumping her head on the... She took the medicine, reflecting, meditating on the medicine. You know, when you have something you do not want to do, you meditate a lot. He said, what will happen? He has made his destiny, why not me? Son, daughter. Then the man, by the time medicine's effect lost, he jumped and followed the teacher. Do you know that? This is true even today, December 25th, 2004, in New York City. If you do not have that feeling, nothing. You are meandering and wandering in the outer court of spirituality. So that is God comes because He comes to suffer with us. That is the proof of His love. You think when God incarnates, His life is very happy? He is coming to a lunatic asylum of the whole earth. You cannot talk to anybody. You talk to them about renunciation, they talk about what you call fruitcake and what you call dress, Nintendo and car. The two cannot talk to each other. This is counting money, bargain sales. This is. It was intense suffering for a God-man to be born. Think of that. You are paradoxed in a lunatic asylum. They don't know what to do. But the incarnate. You may question, what is the purpose of incarnating, getting tortured, crucified, and also creating a world with all these problems where they will fight with each other? Could not God have created a world all good, pious, pure, established in God consciousness? Do you know? There will be no world. World means there will be good and evil. You cannot philosophically prove that Satan is somebody who was not created by God. We want to think God is all good. Everything happens according to His will. Evil we create. We blame Him. So He incarnates. To set the balance. It goes on, again the balance is lost. The message remains the same. The language becomes different. The message of God consciousness. Get back to the center of your being. This is also the message of the teachers of the Vedas and Yoga. Afflictions of life begin when you are cut up from the center of your being. You come under the law of relative universe, dominated by the inexorable law of karma, life and death and birth and changes. There is no material or psychological remedy except to get back to the center. That is the essential teaching. Their stories of birth and death almost identical. Sri Krishna's life, virgin birth, life of Sri Ramakrishna, virgin. What is that mystery? Their death also painful. Sri Krishna was killed by an arrow of a hunter. Sri Ramakrishna died in cancer. Buddha died by being poisoned. Chaitanya, many people think he was murdered. Anyway, if you want to be a prophet, be ready for any of these things. Probably by that you will chill your spiritual blood count. What do you want? These men have been found the alternate between human and divine. They are like what Sri Ramakrishna says, holes in the wall. Through the hole you can see as much as your eyes can see the outside. You cannot see the whole universe. Compare that, Jesus is teaching. No one can see the Father except through the Son. Through the avatar, you can see God as much as you can. They alone demonstrate the reality of God. Nothing else. Philosophy cannot. Theology cannot. One argument can be overcome by another argument. That's why it is said the devil also quotes scriptures. Argument cannot establish. Your personal experience is very, very minimal and fleeting. It does not prove. Classes of special revelation, chosen race, are repugnant to Vedanta. The idea, chosen race, chosen people. But these words have been used in this biblical language or philosophy. Metaphorical. In Hindu or Vedanta, God showers His grace upon those who are sincere. Are you not saying also there is a special class of people? Grace is no grace unless you want it. Think of that. Are you wanting grace for what? I can tell you these are the things, you will be in eternal bliss. But you will have to give up certain things. That's the story of a man who went to a doctor. He wanted to live 100 years and above. The doctor gave a long 3-page list. You can't eat butter, you can't eat cake, you cannot eat pastry, you cannot go to the movie, you cannot drink this, you cannot drink that, you cannot smoke. Man, by the time half finished, he got up. Doctor said, you don't want to live 100 years? He said, what for? Huh? This is our immortality. God says, fine. They're quite happy with themselves. My job is less. If you don't ask me any problem, I will feel God's grace that I don't have to hear your problems. Well, they're quite satisfied, creating their own problem, trying to solve. Life is a creation of problem and trying to solve them. This is the course of life. You create one problem, solve them. Then the solution becomes a problem. Then you again solve. You feel happy. You sing Christmas, but you are telling God, don't come down too far. You better remain in your heaven. We will manage our affairs. The message of Christmas, that God takes human form out of love. And out of love, He suffers and dies. Kingdom of heaven is within. The essence of religion, Jesus proved God consciousness, God-centered living. Idea of salvation is returning home. Do you believe that? Returning home, you are in a foreign land where nobody is your own and will come to your rescue. These friends and relatives have been provided to you for your temporary life on earth. There you will find your true relatives. Swami Vivekananda's first song to Sri Ramakrishna. My mind returned to your own abode. Why you are flooding in this universe where all the elements are strangers to you? None of them is yours. Why forgetting your own people? You're immersed in so-called fantasy in this world. That is called vairagam, dispassion, rising of the kundalini, beginning of spiritual quest. If it is not spiritual quest, going to a church, temple, ringing bell, these are like going to a club. Nothing more than that. You may do billions of years, nothing will change in you. So return to your true father. The way is to stop being false in any form. Not being asked much. Don't pretend and be false. Means be sincere. Sri Krishna's promise. Anybody, even a sinner, he makes the sincere resolve, I come into the picture. I do everything for him. You do not need philosophy, discipline, theology. These are to keep your mind up. Christmas is the day of all the incarnations, the birthday of God in different traditions. Since the same God incarnates as incarnation. This is the message of Christmas. It's a birthday of God. One of the birthdays. So therefore, think of this. Reflect on this. Meditate on this. Feel for this. That a man was born, we call him God. He cried, shed blood, crucified as a common criminal. He bore everything for us. And he prayed, Father, forgive them. They know not what they are doing. Only a prophet can do that prayer. Thank you. Om Jananing Saradang Deving Ramakrishnang Jagadgurung Padapadmitayo Sritva Pranavami Muhur Muhur. We bow down to Mother Sarada, the great Master Sri Ramakrishna. We take refuge at their feet and bow down to them over and over again. Om, peace, peace be unto us and to all living beings.